My name's Jack. I'm a creative director at a communications PR agency called Weber, and I've been doing some variation of my job for about 15 years. Um, and today I wanted to talk about what being a creative really means. I think, everyone here is interested in a creative career to some degree. You might, be teetering around the edge. You might be like, this is definitely for me. And I just think that it's quite a nebulous phrase, creative, and with it comes stereotypes and expectations. So I just wanted to unpack a bit for you what being a creative in the workplace, specifically in advertising and PR, can mean. Although it goes beyond that as well. The key principles go beyond that. Um, so, to reassure you that this probably is for you if it's something you want to do and that you can do it. And, some of the hurdles there probably aren't hurdles at all. And I've just put a maybe because this is very much my opinion. It's not definitive. Other people will have a different opinion, and that sort of self-doubt is what plagues the creative workplace and I would say is actually a good thing. Um, which brings me to my first point: is genius not required? I imagine there'll be some of you who feel that you are brilliant creatives already. There'll be some of you who feel that you aren't brilliant creatives yet. Um, I really strongly feel that you don't have to feel that you're an innate creative genius, that you were born that way, that you grew up that way, that that's just how your mind works. I think you definitely don't have to be a creative genius to have genius ideas. I think it's very much a skill set you can learn. So if you feel that there are other people around you who are more creative, who seem brilliant to you, yeah, some people are already used to that way of thinking, but I think it's a way of thinking that everyone can learn. And I didn't start off. I did a history degree. I had a couple of corporate jobs before I started working for an advertising startup. Um, it's something I kind of fell into and a skill that I learned to hone. So yeah, I just wouldn't want anyone to be put off thinking that they have to already feel like some sort of creative genius. I think it's very much a skill set that you can learn. Because at the end of it and the beginning of it, it's all about problem solving. I think creativity, the best analogy is problem solving, like a puzzle. It's basically a series of challenges you get, very different challenges, and then you have to work out how to solve them. I think, you might think there's some sort of, and there can be eureka moments, but it all comes through trial and error, trying to solve a problem a certain way. So, for example, some of the problems you might have budget restrictions. Okay, well, I've got this brief. The client wants to be famous for this product or this story. There's a very small budget. What can I do to overcome that small budget? How can I be clever? That's a problem. Or maybe there's a brand problem, like, I'm the fourth biggest company in this sector. How do I stand out? And then you have to really think, okay, well, what can I do to make them stand out? Or you might have legal restrictions. So for example, there was a health campaign, I think in Japan, that did really well last year, where they weren't allowed to show anything intimate in their communications. So what they did is they showed blurry, intimate images and content instead, and it won a lot of awards and it made the creative even better. So I think I think really creativity is about problem solving. It's about looking at any challenge as a problem and then how on earth can I go about tackling it, no matter how hard the problem might seem. Because when you think about something for long enough and you spend days or minutes, however long you've got to work on something, you'll soon see that it's all different pieces you can put together, and you'll be able to crack it. Next, it's always great to back yourself. It's important to stand up for your own ideas and your own thoughts. And I think that's something that's going to be really challenging in the creative workplace because to an extent, it's really subjective. What you think is good and brilliant, someone else might not. So it is important to back yourself. At the same time, your work and your ideas and your creativity is only going to get better if you listen to other people. I think so often when I started out, and I can see it already with people that are starting out, you're very much you can flip flop between quite a lot of doubt, but then also this is right, this is the right answer. I don't really want to change it. I'm convinced this is right, and sometimes, sure. But a lot of times you have to rely on the experience and the perspective of other people, and they're going to make your work and your creativity better. So yeah, really important to back yourself, but also to really keep an open mind, which is hard when you love something and you're convinced that what you're doing is right. Um, but I can guarantee the only way to get to the best work is to bring other people in to hear their perspectives, even if it's slightly uncomfortable, not really what you were looking to hear. It's really, really important to have to be collaborative in that creative process. And again, as I touched on at the first slides, I think imposter syndrome is high in the creative fields. I think one day you could feel I'm really winning, I've impressed the client, I've done a brilliant piece of work. The next, the brief doesn't go so well, no one's so jazzed about your ideas, and you feel like a complete fraud. And that yo-yoing between feeling like a genius and feeling like an imposter is extremely common. And I don't think I can think of a single creative who I work with who hasn't done that. It's very much a field where you will doubt yourself, but the more you work in it and the more great ideas you have, you'll start to get more confidence. So when that imposter syndrome creeps in, okay, well, I have thought this through before. I have got this body of work. I am good at what I do, and you'll be able to manage that. But it's a completely normal feeling, and I don't think I've ever shaken it. I think from the day I started to now, it's just something that's part of it. So yeah, just just a heads up, that's what you might have to deal with, and it's fine to feel like you're a fraud. You're not. It's normal. This harsh image captures the harsh reality of being a creative, which is a really important part of being a creative is learning how to destroy things. It's learning how to destroy things quickly and viciously, and then completely forget about them afterwards because you will so often be asked to solve a problem and come up with ideas. So you'll come up with these ideas, you'll love 70% of them. And it might be that no one you're showing them to likes any of them, and they might all be right. And you have to learn to let go of your babies. You have to learn to just screw the paper up, to use a 90s analogy, and just completely rip it all apart and start again. And that's just part of the process. It's something that is really hard at the beginning, and it's something that everyone gets better at. But being creative isn't just coming up with ideas, it's also about destroying ideas too, which sounds dark, but it can be funny. Also, through the destructive process, you're going to get better work out of it because you're going to learn what does and doesn't work. Um, but yeah, it is part of the job. You spend hours and days thinking of these beautiful ideas that you're sure are brilliant, and you might find out in 30 seconds that they're not. Um, so it's just something that we all get used to, and it's part of it. And it's, dust yourself up, dust yourself off, and go again. Keep banging it. I think personally that a huge part of being a creative is being incredibly stubborn. I think it's a complete refusal to give up. So, maybe you've already burnt things down two or three times, you're running out of time, but it's all you're thinking about. You're going to keep going and going and going until you get the answer, whether that's by yourself, with other people. I think it's a game of perseverance. Um, which sounds tough, but I think there's a lot of joy to be had in that. Like the determination that you will finish the puzzle, you will complete the game, because it does take a lot of perseverance. Sometimes you will come up with the answer in 5 minutes after thinking of something, after getting a brief. Sometimes it might take 5 weeks. You just have to persevere. You will get there. Other people will help you get there. You'll help other people get there. But yeah, it's really critical to never give up, and you won't. And finally, what I've described might sound painful. The perseverance, the self-doubt. It can be a painful process. It can also be a brilliantly fun process, which is why so many of us love to do it. But being a creative is challenging. There's pressure, and you need to persevere, and you need to adapt. But it's the most rewarding job I've ever had. Um, it's the most rewarding job any of my colleagues have ever had, and people absolutely love doing it because the gain is so great because you spend all of this, and I think actually the harder you bleed, the more you sweat, the greater the gain. Because to create something with a team, working towards a goal, to create something and to put that out into the real world, whether it's an advert or it's an idea that gets headlines, is a feeling like no other. Like you're actually helping to create culture. You're having ideas that people are talking about around the dinner table. It's such a great gain to feel that I'm creating something that people care about, and something that you care about too. And if you treat every brief like that, every day like that, then the gains will be great. So yeah, just to summarize, I think a lot of us can be, I think everyone is creative. I think it's a skill that you can harness. I think it takes an open mind, someone who's willing to problem solve and to really stick with problems for a long time, someone who's willing to let go of the wrong ideas whilst fighting for them in the first place. And yeah, if you really enjoy the idea of creating something in the world that matters to people, or sometimes doesn't matter to people, then I think it's for you. So I think it really is an inclusive career path, and one that so many of us can do if we are open to thinking a certain way about it. And that's the end of my slides.
Thank you so much, Jack. I loved that. That was really cool. That was really different as well. So I think what we've had before, and it was really, really honest about actually what creative is. I think you have probably one of the most sought after job titles, creative director. It sounds very, very, I feel like every young person wants to be a creative director. And you've probably now convinced everyone that they can be a creative director.
They can, they can.